Welcome to the Oakles channel. Thanks for watching today, and let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy and Game Boy Color game. Today, focus on a game called Faceball 2000 for the original Game Boy. Now, last week I covered 10-pin bowling, and I claimed that was the worst game I had played thus far in the series. Well, hold the phone. We have a new challenger here with Faceball 2000 because this game here is very sluggish, it's very repetitive, it's very cryptic. It's not very fun as you progress in the game. And by the time the game was over, I pretty much had hated the game almost my entire experience. And I have to say, as far as enjoyability goes and overall playability, even though it's impressive, this is one of the worst games on the Game Boy thus far, in my opinion. Now, like I said, it is very impressive graphically. I mean, it's a 3D first-person shooter on the Game Boy, which you really wouldn't even think like is possible. And so the game gets a lot of credit for that, and it sort of goes down the history books of sorts because of its inventive nature at the time. But I'm here to tell you, like, outside of just simply loading it up to see the effects of it, there's not very much of a fun game here beneath the surface. We're going to dive into all that and more as we journey through Faceball 2000 for the Game Boy. Now, this particular game did get moved up in the queue a good bit because clearly Palooza request I cover it sooner than later, so now it's moved up in the queue. So again, if you want to see me cover it sooner than later, let me know the name of the game in the comments down below. And just like Faceball, I'll move it right on up. Now, I like to start the videos off with the box art for the game first. And the box art for Faceball 2000 pretty much summarized the game perfectly. So you have all these different faces on the cover, whether it's going to be a regular smiley face, you know, gleaming at you, or like a Pac-Man ghost sort of in the background, or an upside down Pac-Man ghost. So it looks like Bart Simpson to a degree. And all of these are different enemies that are going to come across and try to attack you throughout your experience. And you have little balls that you throw at the face, hence the title, Faceball. And I guess the 2000 comes from like this era, calling pretty much everything 2000 because 2000 is like the futuristic year. Look forward to. Now we look back at it. But at the time of this game being published, 2000 was still far enough in the future where people were speculating on the coolness of what's to come. There's also a maze in the background, and you do get lost in so many mazes in this game. But the most interesting thing about the cover is it says 1 to 4 players, and you can link multiple Game Boys together in order to have like a Battle Royale type experience or a very early version of it on the Game Boy. It's sort of like a tally of who can take out the most enemies in arena mode. But they actually just last month broke the record here of having 16 players all linked together on this particular game going through arena mode. And that breaks the record of any Game Boy game having the most players all hooked together through link cables for the maximum, I guess, hardware multiplayer capability. And so it's sort of cool, like, you know, the game is still making strides or still making records even to this day, but I do think it maxes out at 16 players. I don't think you can go any further beyond that. But there's an entire video sort of documenting and breaking it down. I'll put a link to it in the description down below if you want to see like all the cool hardware capabilities. But this video is not a review of the overall multiplayer. We're talking about just simply finishing the game, getting to the credits. And so let's go ahead and jump into Faceball 2000. Now, when you load the game up here, the publisher of the game or the developer is Bulletproof Software. Now, I knew it looked familiar because I actually played Tetris Blast earlier in this challenge, and that is a fantastic game in like pretty much every single way. And it's the same developer as that, but to me the quality did not remain for Faceball here. But regardless, it is a very good developer who created this game, or at least publisher for it. And then you have some mechanical sounding music playing in the background, which doesn't sound too bad on first listen here. But there are only 2 songs in the entire game. The intro song here for the main menu, and then the main theme for every single level. It never changes throughout the entire game. And that is a little bit of a knockback on here. We're going to get to it at the very end. There's not even like credit music when you actually finish the game. It's a really crappy ending, like as far as like rewards go. But only 2 songs in the entire game, and this is one of them. I'll let a little bit play right here. Like I said, it's sort of mechanical sounding, sort of sets that futuristic tone. It's not a bad song, but you're going to get sick of every song before you finish here. You do have options here. You can change your name. I do change my name to Ogles. You can change your face, even though you're never going to actually see your player as you go through here, unless you do like arena mode. And we're not going to do arena mode. We're going to basically focus on cyberspace to get the credits to roll. You can also change your strength here, and I just simply went with the default of happy. I really don't know if that makes a difference or not as far as like your playthrough. I just didn't want to mess with it too much as far as like making the game mode easier or harder, because I wanted to have the original default experience. And then when I go into a cyberspace mode, which is the core 1-player mode here, you do get to choose your difficulty, and I just simply went with the default, which was very easy. And all it does is not going to base as far as like how hard the game is going to be. It just simply determines which level you're going to start at. So if you choose the lowest option, you're going to start at level 1. If choose the highest option. It'll start at like level 40 or 50, and there are 70 levels that you have to go through in the game unless you want to do the bonus levels, and I do not recommend doing the bonus levels here. And so we're going to start off with level 1, and I'm not going to go through every single level of this game because there are 70 levels to go through, and the game gets very, very repetitive as you go. But you're basically tossed into this world, and all you have to do in the first level is the mission is just simply to find the flashing door. They're teaching you how to play the game here, and so you basically just have to hunt through this little maze, and that's level 1's not even really a maze. You have to get to the flashing door, go up to it, and you have finished level 1. A super, super basic level. Now level 2 is going to be pretty much more of the same, just a little bit more complex here. And the controls for the game, all you have to do is press forward, or press up on the D-pad to walk forward, back on the D-pad to walk backwards. Left and right are going to change your direction as far as which way you're looking in, and then you press forward to go in that particular direction, and you can press the A button in order to shoot out like a little ball in front of you to attack enemies, and you press B to open up any items that you might come across. And there are a good variety of items as far as like extra lives or band-aids, or for like health and whatnot, or coins to try to get you extra lives as you go, and even sometimes there's clues throughout as well to try to give you hints as far as like how to solve the puzzles. Now level 3 and 4 here are going to focus on the idea of having to shoot certain doors in order to open them up, and generally speaking the doors will be different colors. Knowing that you can shoot that particular door, it's going to disappear. You can travel through that, but as you progress further into the game, it's not going to be different colors anymore, and pretty much everything is completely cryptic. So the training here is just simply letting you know, like, if you shoot pretty much everywhere, different doorways can open up. Now level 5 is going to show you basically, like I said earlier, little pods that you can go up to, get a little extra bonuses, extra clues, things like that. We also have some new moving enemies throughout here in level 5. Level 6 is going to be pretty much the same, and then level 7 is going to introduce a very annoying mechanic in the game. It's going to be like basically switches on the ground, and you can walk across these switches and they're going to open up different passageways throughout the level. Now in level 7 it's not too bad. You step on a switch, the door is fairly close by to you, go through the door, exit out the level, not too bad. But like I said earlier, when you get into the later levels in the game, you step on a switch and you don't know where the door opened inside the level. You have to traverse the entire thing, constantly being bombarded by enemies here. But once again, we're at the beginning of the game, so it's not going to get too complex just yet. And then level 8 here is going to be called I Shoot You Too, and it's basically because you have enemies that actually can shoot back at you. But when I first read the title of it, I was like, man, this game really hates Bono here, like, going after you too. But like I said, it's just simply enemies that can finally shoot back at you. Also, I realized in level 8, if you press the select button, you can go to a map, and you can see a map of the area of everywhere you've been to thus far. And in some levels, you can actually find like a item that has the map, and you can unlock the entire thing. But I never really could find consistency with that. Is that in every single level? Just some levels? I think it's just in some levels. But regardless, pressing select is going to at least always give you the passageways you've already gone to, so you sort of know like where you want to explore. However, this select feature for the map is also extraordinarily annoying here, because like half the time the select button just simply does not work in the game, and you press select to go to the map, and then you press select again and again and again and again, and after like 20 times of pressing it, then you'll go back into the game, and if you want to look back at your map again, you press select, maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 10 times, get back to your map, and then once again you're on the pressing select as many times as you need to get back to the core game. Could be 1 time, could be 20 times. It's just very annoying, very inconsistent, and you can still be attacked while you're in map mode. And so I mean, the map is very helpful, but it's also extraordinarily annoying because of the way they basically coded the game, I guess. It's just simply very glitchy. Now levels 9 through 13 I'm going to link all together here, because they sort of just simply build on the mechanics you've learned thus far, and get slowly more complex as you go, as far as like different floor buttons that you press, more enemies to take out, for different variety of enemies that are going to attack you. But when you get to level 14, they do introduce a new mechanic, and that's the idea of finding keys inside of pods. And when you find keys, it's going to unlock a new area inside the world you have to explore. And it's just simply one more, basically, tactic, or at least one more step that you have to go through trying to mix the puzzles up. But if we're being honest here, like, is it really that much different than the floor panels? I mean, you step on a switch on the floor, it unlocks a door, and I pick a key up, that unlocks a door. And so it just feels like they are basically keeping the same gameplay mechanic. They're simply using a different item for the same process. And so it's not quite as adventurous as one might think here. Now level 15 to 16 is going to introduce the turkeys to you. And turkeys are basically the upside down Pac-Man ghost, or like the Bart Simpson characters I called earlier. And they are very, very fast and pretty annoying here. And they can overload you very quickly if you do not take them out pretty much as soon as you see them. It was actually in level 16 is the very first time I died in the entire game. And so like the game thus far really hadn't been that difficult. Like I said, learning the mechanics of it. But the first time I died, but it's eventually just going to become a constant dying fest as we go. Now, level 17 is going to introduce us to the glass maze. And the glass maze basically just simply has invisible walls throughout the entire maze. So you like walk up to an area you think you can walk through and you just simply hit the wall. And it's just trolling you. It's really annoying. 18 does the same thing, just simply like a little mini maze you're going through. 19 gives you a new item called a freeze up, and if you collect a freeze up, it literally freezes the zones or freezes the drones that are coming to attack you. A really good mechanic, and I wish they like utilized it more throughout the game. It feels like they just introduced a lot of these like little items, and you get it one time, and then you never see it again. Or if they do throw it in there again, it's very hidden, and you're probably not even going to collect it as you're exploring the level. But level 20 here is called Ambush, and just like the title says, tons of enemies coming to take you out. But if you do die, if you're not like permanent death as far as like losing all your lives, but if you simply lose one life, all the enemies that you've killed thus far do not reappear. And so that's somewhat of a help. Now we're going to group 21, 22, and 23 together because the only new thing in these levels are something called gremlins who basically approach you and then explode to try to lose your health here. And I did forget to mention, like your health meter is basically a smiley face in the bottom right hand corner. And every time you get hit, it goes from a smiley face to a medium face to a sad face, and then you die. And if you want to regain your health pretty quickly, you're going to have to find a band-aid. But if you just simply like wait around, eventually like recover health on your own, and you can go all the way back to a smiley face if you just simply have enough patience before going into the next enemy encounter here. And it almost reminds me like in when I was in kindergarten, like the very first grade year in school. I do remember like our whole discipline system was based very similar to this. Like you started the day off with a smiley face, you got disciplined one time, then you go to a straight face, get disciplined the second time, then you go to a sad face, and then you get time out and your parents call if you go beyond that. So like maybe my teacher like saw Faceball back in the day and was like, hey, this is a great way to punish my kids because they felt punished playing this game. That's the only thing I can figure out there. But regardless, it did bring back memories of kindergarten. And good gracious, dropping this pen a lot. See, I'm getting frustrated, like even talking about the game. It's bringing back memories of kindergarten. It's made me drop my pen. I mean, this game here just... Now level 26, there's nothing really to write home about except it's called Wally World, and my father-in-law calls Walmart Wally World, and so every time I see Wally World, I think of Walmart, I think of him, and a nice little memory to go along with that, because now I refer to Walmart as Wally World pretty much everywhere, every time I go to it. Now level 27 to 32, I'm going to link all of them together as well, because there's no new mechanics in pretty much any of these. You're simply exploring the worlds, and you're getting more difficulty as you go. And some of the worlds you do admittedly get lost in. You spend a lot of time just sort of wandering the corridors, trying to figure out where to go, which blocks did I not go up and shoot, which sensors did I not step on, because you can step on a sensor and then accidentally step on it the second time, and it's going to close back the door that you came from or the door that opened up. And so it's very easy to get lost in the game of like which ones you've pressed, which ones you haven't pressed. It'd be so much easier like if you just simply pressed it one time and that door was permanently open. But no, they didn't want to make it easier like that. They definitely wanted to make it more convoluted. But when you get to level 33 here, it actually swaps the gameplay up a little bit. And it's the only time the game does it, which is confusing. But it gives you 2 exits inside the level. And if you take the one exit, it takes you to level 34. Take the other exit, it takes you to level 35. And I take the exit to take me to level 35. But I was hoping throughout the entire rest of the experience, every time I come to the exit, I was like, is there a secondary exit? Is there going to be a way for me to skip levels? Because I was really dying to skip levels as I was journeying through here. But this is the only time that I know of in the entire game where you can actually skip a level simply by taking an alternate exit. Now level 35 through 56. I know I'm skipping a lot here, but the game doesn't change a whole lot. You get a few new enemies like the vampire and the bouncers, and they're just simply the same as your old enemies, except more powerful now. They just decide to give them a new name when they increase the HP of them. And when you get to some of these enemies, like they take a lot of hits to take out, and you're trying to back away while you're trying to shoot at them. And you really can't like turn or you can't strafe left and right. It's pretty hard to dodge them as you're going, and so you like want to back up and try to back up at an angle. And it doesn't work very well, and you end up losing a heck of a lot of lives. And it's really annoying. It's really frustrating because the game just simply does not work to your benefit for controls. And you end up dying a lot. But the deaths never feel like something you can learn from. They just feel like more of a, hey, you died, and there's really no way you can escape it next time. But here, try again. And I don't know, I get really annoyed when games put this mechanic in there. But there's really nothing that changes in all of these levels except they're getting more complex, more buttons, more mystery walls, more switches to hit. So there's not a whole lot to say about those particular levels, but when you get to level 57, they do the most annoying thing I think I've seen in the entire game thus far, and they put an invisible switch on the floor for you to step on to open up a door in order to advance. Now, I understand like cryptic, I do. But there's no like clue that there's going to be an invisible switch on the floor. You're simply wandering around the level here. You've explored everything. You've shot every single wall, and you had to literally walk up to a square that was not identified in any particular way. Walk up on it, and there's going to be an invisible switch that's going to unlock a door in order for you to advance. I will admit, I did not find this on my own. I had to look up a player's guide for it, and there's an excellent website out there. There's two of them actually. I sort of use both of them to get through some of these levels here. There's one that actually shows you the map of every individual level. Super enormous help. I'll put a link to it in the description down below in case you want to also go through this game. And there's another website that actually like gave you directions as far as like, invisible button on the floor here, things like that. I'll put a link to that one in the description down below as well. These were lifesavers as far as like actually being able to finish this game, because I can't actually say for sure that I would have ever figured out an invisible button on the floor you just simply had to walk up on randomly. Now 58 through 61, once again, just advancing in the same mechanics here. 62 is called cross-eye because they introduced a new enemy that can't actually see you, but they can only hear you. So if you're like really quiet inside the game, you sort of sneak around, they won't actually come and detect you at all. But as soon as you fire off a bullet, they're going to basically swarm you like there's no tomorrow. And so, a fairly interesting enemy, but not too varied from their other stuff. You also get a new enemy called Ninja, who is incredibly hard. We're talking like probably 8 hits to actually take him out. Really so much of a nuisance as you could get. And then we continue on, and we'll skip ahead a few more levels. We get to one called Diagonal, and I don't know, something about this map like just was aesthetically pleasing to me. You simply had to take the diagonal pathway here, take out a few enemies, go by this little wall, and escape from it. And I don't know, like, it's probably because it came so late in the game, and I was so used to these super complex, convoluted puzzles of areas, and there's this really simple one right there at the end, and I just really appreciated it. So Diagonal is probably overhyped in my mind, but at the time, it was very much appreciated. Then you journey to level 70. Now this is basically called the Master's Castle or something like that, and it basically is a giant castle that you have to go through. And once again, no direction where to go, huge level. The map that I mentioned earlier really helped me out a lot by looking at exactly where some of the buttons were, some of the keys were at. You have to travel all the way to the left-hand side of the castle. Don't even go in the castle yet. Left-hand side, go all the way up, you get a key, then you go through a secret exit, or a secret entrance into the castle. Then you step on a button. It's going to unlock a ninja, one of the most powerful enemies. You are in a very small space here. Have to take the ninja out. Then you have to go through a door that you did not know was a door. You simply have to discover it. And if you ever like walk out of here, like it's over. Like you've lost the level. It's like a soft lock as far as like the game goes, at least until you die. But if you continue on following the little map that I mentioned earlier, you go through here, you step on the appropriate switches, get the keys, you eventually get to an area called the Master. Now the Master is the final boss in the game, and he looks no different than the ninjas or the regular smiley faces, and he can shoot out so fast that there's no way you could actually defeat the Master. I'm sure there's someone out there who has. Normal players are not going to be able to defeat the Master. But if you just simply rush over to the left-hand side, you can get the key and then let the Master kill you, then go back into the castle and just simply rush on the far opposite side of the room, past the Master, around the little corner here, and you can just simply use the key to exit out the level, never actually having to fight the Master, never actually having to defeat the Master. Now when you defeat him, you do get the final closing of the game here, very much of a psychedelic ending, like a little psychedelic rainbow in the background, all the different Pac-Man enemies coming up to you, almost doing like a separation of like mitosis and whatnot. Very, very psychedelic. No ending music, but very psychedelic. They really should have put some music in here, because you've just spent like, I don't know, the game probably took me 20 hours to go through. It took me a really long time of a very boring game and very repetitive and very annoying, because I got very frustrated as I went through it. And you get a really lame ending here with no music, and then you get the credits, and the nicknames at the credits is probably the most fascinating part. Like you have Bubbles is one of the guys' name. You have the Sensei. You have the Blob, the Terminator. Just really odd names for the you can tell the developers that are going through it. They got a kick out of making people miserable in this game, so they want to put like little trolly names in there at the same time, like the Terminator and the Blob. I mean, that's the name of the level editor, the Blob. Almost like you just sort of took a random assortment of paint and just sort of threw it down on a palette, and that became the level. It's just a blob of ink, like a Jackson Pollock type thing. But no music. At the very end, it does say, "Have a nice day." It has a little smiley face, but at this point in the game, you are so like sick of the smiley face and looking at them and replaying these levels. Like, you never want to see a smiley face ever again. And to see it on the final credits here, just makes you want to throw the Game Boy. I mean, it makes you really just hate it all the more. It just feels like it's truly like trolling you at the close. But let's talk about the game as an overall. Now, I know I did like zoom through a lot of the levels here, but there's really just simply not a lot to write home about as far as like differences. It feels like you're playing the exact same level over and over and over after about level 30 inside the game, because the enemies, they don't vary. They have different names, but their attacks are going to be exactly the same. They're just going to be like a little bit faster, have a larger health pool to pull from. And so like the enemy variety is not going to change hardly at all. The puzzle mechanics is not going to change pretty much hardly at all. The levels are just simply going to get more and more massive and more convoluted. And since the game is so slow at the same time, it just feels like you're in these levels just like forever as you're going through it. And the controls trying to escape enemies and try to maneuver around them, since you can't strife back and forth left and right like having an L and R button inside this because it's on the original Game Boy. The controls are terrible. You can't like effectively take enemies out. You can't really like snipe a lot of enemies. It's just simply the combat's not fun. The level design is not fun. The speed of the game is not fun. The gameplay loop or the gameplay mechanic here, after like the novelty of the 3D on the Game Boy wears off after like five levels, or like maybe 10-20 minutes into the game itself is not fun as far as like the gameplay loop. The music is the same throughout the entire experience. It's very cryptic. I really have almost nothing positive to say about this game except that it pushes the hardware. But a game that pushes the hardware does not make a good game. And so this is a game that I think goes down in history as being a great or impressive Game Boy game because it looks so good. I mean, it is a first-person shooter on the Game Boy, but outside of being a novelty, I can't see anyone actually wanting to ever finish this game or really ever even play this game at all. There's almost no redeeming factor about it, and I cannot imagine anyone actually, outside of a challenge like this, wanting to journey through all 70 levels and then the 5 bonus levels on top of that as you're going through it. I personally would not recommend this game in any form or fashion. I think I gave the last game a 1 out of 10. It says like the worst on the Game Boy, and it simply wasn't a game. I can't give this game a 1 out of 10 because, like I said, it is a graphically impressive game. If you just load up for the novelty for 20 minutes, you can enjoy that. But I feel like 2 out of 10 is probably about as good as I'm going to get it. I didn't like almost anything about it. It's a novelty of a game, and I would not recommend it. But if you ever played Faceball 2000s, let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, check my other videos listed up above. Go out there, find a great game to play. Simply have a great rest of the day.